It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
Hello, and welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club. I'm your host, Michael McMillan, and with me always is your other host.
Hi, I'm Bryce Johnson.
Hi, Bryce. Happy New Year. It's 2018.
I know. It's pretty crazy.
We're kind of in the time machine right now.
Yep.
We're time traveling because we're actually recording this before the holiday season really gets underway. But we're airing this episode in January. It's the first week of January 2018. I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful New Year's. I hope you had all your holiday wishes come true. I'm excited because January is going to be our Crazy Ex-Girlfriend crossover month.
Very excited
so
about this.
For some of you who are just paranormal fans and finding the show for the first time, that may make no sense to you, but I'm on a show called Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and one of the best things about working on this show is that I've met some rad people on it. And my character, Tim, works in an office. This is what the show's about. It's my character, Tim, who works in a law office. But it's White Feather and Associates, and this month, I'm going to have a bunch of people from that corner of the cast on the show sharing their paranormal experiences and getting to hear and comment on some fun stories. So,
love that.
Our first guest is my best buddy on the show. He plays Jim to my Tim. Everyone, it's Burl Moseley.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? How
Hi,
you doing?
Burl.
What's up, Burl?
Oh, wow. He is ready
I'm
for
really
a
excited.
podcast.
Love that. Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, sir.
So, Burl,
Yeah.
this is your first time in the clubhouse. Are you a believer in the paranormal?
I am.
Great.
I definitely am. Paranormal as far as like extraterrestrials, ghosts, spirits, that whole jazz. I mean, I've seen some stuff myself, so you can't help but believe something that you've seen with your own eyes. You know,
Of
what I mean?
course.
And
Well-
Bigfoot. I mean, the questions I have are numerous.
What
but
are your questions for Bigfoot?
my main question for Bigfoot is this: if Bigfoot, I was like, well, Bigfoot's been around for years, and Bigfoot should be dead by now, right? That's
Yeah.
my one question.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's if there was maybe one Bigfoot.
right.
Right. But if there was a multiple or families, they might even like bury their dead or you know, as I'm sort of I'm in a Bigfoot paranormal type of. I like to believe maybe Bigfoot likes to go in and out of dimensions, and maybe that's part of the reason why he's never been captured or evidence is so slim and
That he might not be of this earth.
That's right. That he might be actually intermingling between dimensions or parallel universes.
We've got to do a Bigfoot UFO episode because there are so many weird stories about Bigfoot coming out of UFOs and bright lights.
I know. And I don't like to be that guy because a lot of the big Bigfooters are like, oh, that's just lazy research. But I think, you know, if you don't connect all the dots, I mean, you know, because there are happenstances where, you know, UFOs or orbs are seen where there's Bigfoot sightings. And so to ignore that would be, I think you'd be remiss.
Don't be shy, Burl. Take that jacket off.
great.
Yeah,
like-
take it
Burl's
off.
getting
Take it
warm.
off,
He's
Burl.
got to take it off.
I was
You're
like,
being
I don't know,
so
I don't wanna
polite.
make too much noise.
Man,
here on
no,
the
we're just
podcast.
kicking into the clubhouse. Take your
it.
jacket off,
That's
man.
exactly right.
Wait, my other question about Bigfoot is we have all these, you know, all this technology now, all these nice cameras. Like, can somebody please get a sharp
I mean,
Instagram
seriously,
photo?
though. No, I know.
of
Bigfoot? It's so true. Some of the best photographic evidence still remains like 50 years in the past, you know? But I offer you this. We might be wrong. Go to YouTube and start looking up some footage and a photo or video of like either Bigfoot or Yeti. And there's some real diamonds out there.
Yeah, there's some good stuff, but there's also so many
much crap.
fake photos that have, I think, sort of watered down the credibility of even the ones that might be real. That I think people just tend to write it all off now as just these photos are all photoshopped or they're bad costumes.
Well, sure. I always like to take when I see a Bigfoot photo or some great video. I think the next thing I like to do is find the context of what it was taken. Who are the people that witnessed it? What is their story?
Guys, you have to apply the rules of fake news to your Bigfoot research.
Yeah.
True.
You got to look at that source. You got to track those names, find out who that author is, find out if they are a credible and reliable witness.
Yeah, I mean,
and not some huckster.
This has made me a believer a little bit more, though, seeing this plaster cast. That
Oh,
Oh,
you
yeah.
yeah.
Burl's holding our signature broken toe Bigfoot plaster cast.
yeah, those things are cool because, I mean, like I was saying earlier, that's still some of the best evidence. So many prints are taken worldwide, not just here in North America, but all over the world. Prints are found and taken and documented, as well as eyewitness testimonial to go along with it. And especially when they start to triangulate witnesses who don't know each other, who live in separate places, but who see the same thing and who plaster cast the same tracks, then it starts to get really interesting. Yeah.
Burl, so Bigfoot you've not encountered, obviously. You believe in aliens. Have you seen any UFOs?
No, well, there was one time when I was younger, and I thought there was a whole like UFO thing going on. We stepped outside the house
Okay.
and saw these like lights going through the clouds and everything. But what I learned later in life is that it was one of those like spotlights, one of those like 3 spotlight things that swirl around.
Oh, you mean like at the premiere of a Hollywood movie?
Yes,
Oh.
like at the premiere
Gotcha.
of a Hollywood movie.
And did that vibe with you? Do you feel like looking back that may have been what it was?
Yeah,
or-
because they followed this set pattern.
Right.
And I saw it again was the thing. Like I saw it again years later out here and I was like, that's it. That's the UFO. And then I was like, I
Confirmed.
tracked it down and I was like, oh, it's a spotlight.
Oh, right. But I think that's so part of like, it's an integral part of like being a witness to something is like, or you got to look for the obvious explanation.
And 9
first.
times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10,
right.
it's gonna be something really stupid like that.
Right.
Ghosts. What about ghosts?
Ooh. So in my family, it's so funny because, we'd always talk about ghosts and everything because my aunts had this experience. And I remember my cousins would tell me, they're like ask your aunts about the ghost at the old house, grandma and grandpa's old house. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, hey guys, can you tell me about the ghost at the old house? And then I looked at them and they weren't laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was the only one laughing. I was like, oh, wait, tell me some stories. They got real quiet. I'm like, okay, so what happened? What happened at the old house? They said there was this man, okay, spirit. And whenever they would, get ready to go to bed at night, they could hear him. And he would just be like, they could hear him walking. And it was a thump, drag,
Oh.
thump, drag, right? And they could feel him getting closer. And it got cold, you know what I mean? And they were like, you could always tell when he was around because you hear that thump, drag, and it got cold and it got cold. Most of the time, the only thing that he did was, because they kept their doors closed, and he would just bang on the door like, woof, 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 right? And my aunt said that she would just hide her head under the covers and just try to go to sleep. There was one time, though, that my aunt yelled at him, and they had left the door open, so it had that thump, drag, and it just got closer and closer. And then she said she could hear him breathe. She couldn't see anything, but she could hear him breathing like, and she said, leave us alone,
Yes.
right?
They
And he
say
did,
that's
yeah.
how you get rid of a ghost. You can like tell the spirit to get out, you know?
Yeah, and they got out, but then they were like,
This
we
guy
gotta
was
move.
also a creep.
Yeah, a creep, right?
Yeah.
stalking my aunts, and so finally they were like, we got to move from this old house. It was
Now,
down
where
in
was
Georgia.
this house? Okay,
Yeah,
thank
down in Georgia.
Some
where-
old Confederate pervert.
because there are a lot of spirits down there, Civil War
Sure.
and slavery and all that jazz. So they moved the house. The only thing they brought over from the house was the refrigerator, right? So they moved to a brand new house. Only thing they brought with them was the refrigerator.
Man, I'd have left that too.
Well, that first night
Fridge
in
ghost.
that new house, they hear,
No.
yeah. And they threw out the refrigerator. And after they threw out the refrigerator, he didn't.
You're kidding.
You're
That's
kidding me.
amazing.
It was a fridge ghost.
He came over in the refrigerator.
Let me ask you a question. How long do you think it would take you? Let's say you move into a new house.
Yeah.
That night, you see some shit. Now, you already signed all the papers and you went through all the hoops. How long does it take you to put up a for sale sign in that front yard?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I go by the rule of threes. I go by the rule of threes in my life a lot. So if something happens 3 times, then like, cause like if I see it, I'll be like, oh, that was crazy. The first time, that was a little weird. And then it happens the second time, I'll be like, oh no. Okay, well maybe let me try something. Yeah, let me try like a seance. Let me try to like some sage. Let me try to get that spirit out of them. If that doesn't work, if it's the third time and this person
fool me 3 times, fuck the peace signs, load the clip and let it rain on you.
Whoa, you've been hiding something, Bryce.
Yeah, no, I love that.
He's got that magic.
Magic. Fool me once, shame on you. But
yeah,
3 times.
You
3
gotta
times
draw the line somewhere, and the rule of 3 sounds as good of a rule as any to me.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Fridge ghost, get out.
Fridge ghost, be gone.
That's wild, though. I mean, because you got to start to put together the pieces, which means, your family's moving out of the house. Maybe that whatever the entity is detects that and like, I just need to latch on. Hopefully they take something.
Yeah.
And it was the fridge. And he's like, and I was hungry. I'm going to get in the fridge and go with him. That's it.
That was, refrigerators are also known as ghost suitcases.
Man,
that's a nice anchor point.
Yeah, that's a crazy. But they threw out the fridge, and then
they threw out the fridge, and then they weren't bothered by him anymore. Oh, but I have one more wonderful story that happened to a friend of mine that I actually saw with my own eyes, and I was like, "This is crazy." So, he took me into this is back in high school, right? So I went over to his house. We're hanging out, playing video games. And he's like, do you want to see something crazy? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And so he opens the sliding glass door to the backyard, which his bedroom faced, right? And he's like, look at the grass, right? On the grass, there was dead grass in the shape of footprints, right? That led up to his dog's doghouse, right? In the backyard.
Leave the dog alone.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, wait, why is there just like dead grass in the shape of footprints here in the backyard? And he's like, okay, so here's what happened. It was in the middle of the night. I woke up. I was really cold. I heard my dog barking. And he's like, okay, well, let me just check and see what's happening. So he opened up the curtains to the back door, and he saw his dog barking at this figure. He said it was blacker than black, and it was trying to pet his dog.
Shadow person. Yeah. Shadow person.
Yeah. Sure. And so he was like, hey, leave my dog alone, right? So the figure stands up, and it just starts walking towards him across the grass.
Oh, man.
And he freezes because he can't see it.
Go pet the dog. It's cool to go pet the dog. The dog is fine.
Go pet the dog. And he gets up, the figure gets up to the glass. I think it was in the shape of a man. The figure gets up to the glass, and finally he yells. He finally yells like, ah! And then that's when it goes away.
Wow.
And it was the next morning that he woke up that he saw the dead grass, the footprints leading from his dog's house.
Dude, that one's got Riley shaking in his earphones right now.
That's great.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah. Shadow people are creepy.
Yeah,
did he wear a hat? Because a lot of times they say that they see shadow men wearing with fedoras or wide brim hats.
Do you think they're old-timey guys?
Well, or they're interdimensional. They're trying to take the shape of something here.
Pet the dog, though. That's creepy. Leave the dog alone.
That is creepy.
Boy.
Yeah, that's wild. So left tracks. I mean, I wonder if did he ever think to maybe take a picture of those or anything like that?
Question. This was back in the day where we had film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to your Kodak disposable camera.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Totally. But yeah, I hope he took some pictures of it. All I know is I saw it and I was like, this is crazy. I didn't really want to have very much to deal with it because I've seen stuff myself.
Yeah.
Out of the corner of my eye. One time I was at a friend's house, and me and my friend's little sister were very much in tune with that sort of energy. And we were just talking, we were hanging out, and then our eyes darted to the front door, and we saw something blacker than black, leave the front door. And I was like, and I just looked at my friend's little sister, and we just looked at each other. We didn't say anything. And then I went, did you see that? And she was like, oh, my God.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
And she's like, I see stuff here all the time. And I was like, oh, my God, really? Yeah.
Wow.
When I was a kid, I think there were some hauntings going on in the house that I grew up in. And I always heard creepy stuff in that house. But a lot of times, I'd be downstairs in the basement. We had a finished basement. I'd be playing with my toys, and I would always see what I thought out of the corner of my eye was like a little black shadow creature would like dart away, and I just turned to look, and it would be gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's just some trick of the eye, or I don't know, because I
think that's how they operate. Like,
that's
they
how
can
they
see
operate.
you looking at them.
Well, and there's
And they're
no
like,
tricks leaving footprints. I mean,
No.
that's
Ooh, all right.
scary.
Well, spooky stuff, guys. Spooky, weird, wild stuff.
yeah.
When we come back, we're going to have a story, our high strangeness story of the week. And this week, it's my turn. So we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. It's BCC, and it's time for our high strangeness story of the week. Now, I picked something, a story that I've always been interested in, and I was a little worried going into it that there actually may not be enough meat on the bones for this, but then I found out it's actually a really compelling, great story. So this is a story about the Dover Demon. Are you familiar with this, Bryce? Have you heard of the Dover Demon before?
I've heard, but I'm not familiar.
Okay,
So
great.
I'm very excited.
This is a real fun one. I like the weird cryptid stories, and this is a weird cryptid. And it actually has some similarities to Alien Gray stories, so that it's possible that this creature is extraterrestrial. But it's interesting. Burl's looking at me like
I'm terrified.
He's so scared.
You
Don't
said
worry.
Dover Demon.
This one it's creepy, and the demon is misleading.
Okay.
And that was the name was coined by Lauren Coleman, who's a famous cryptozoologist. After he investigated the story, and we'll get into that. But
I think the alliteration itself is just terrifying.
I think he's really good at marketing these creatures, because up till then it was just referred to as the creature.
No, you need a good name.
You
If you're
gotta
gonna
have a
be
good name.
creature or haunting. You
And
need
he's
a good.
I like him because he's kind of cute, and you'll see it's spooky, but he's kind of cute. Okay, so we need to go back to April 21st. Through April 23rd, 1977, Dover, Massachusetts. Now, all the witnesses in this story were teenagers, so this is like the real Stranger Things, but it's still it's less disappointing than season 2. So
Stop. I enjoyed season 2.
fair
for the
enough.
record.
A lot of people liked it. I had problems, but anyway, I still love the show. I love those characters. Come on. All right. Okay. So the first sighting on the evening of April 21st, 1977, Billy Bartlett is driving down the road with his buddies Mike Malzoka and Andy Brody. And I like to imagine they are listening to Slow Ride by Foghat. I really like the story because I can picture everybody dressed like the characters from Dazed and Confused.
It helps me too.
Yeah, so it's one of those, it's like spring break, and these teenagers are out having a good time, driving around, probably throwing back a few Schlitzes or whatever is the popular beer in 1977 in Dover at the time. So Billy's going down the road with his buddies in the car, and they're all joking around. Now, they say that they had not been drinking and there were no drugs involved, but you never know. I'd like to imagine there was a J being passed around because
Sure.
it's just more fun. So they're going down the road when they hit a curve, and along the curve is this stone wall. And atop the stone wall, Billy sees this strange creature perched on the old wall. And he said that the creature was on all fours. It had a large watermelon-sized head with big eyes and no discernible nose or mouth. Its body was small and thin with spindly arms and legs. He freaks out, and he speeds away, taking that curve really, really hard. Now, his buddies didn't see it, and they're like, what the hell's gone into you? And he tells them, I just saw that. He pulls over and says, I just saw this thing. And they were like, oh, we got to go back. Let's go
Yeah,
back and
of
look. Come on,
course.
we want to go.
Hell yeah,
And he's
dude.
like, I'm not going back there. But his buddy Mike was insistent. He's like, fuck that. We're turning around. Let's go see this thing. So they go back to the wall, and it's gone. And they spend a few minutes being teenagers, standing outside the car, shouting in the woods. They're literally like, hey, creature, come back, creature.
Right.
That's how you end up dead.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
So they finally give up and they go home. And back at home, Billy Bartlett draws a sketch of the creature and shows it to his father. And his father tells him, I think his father believes him, but he's like, let's keep this quiet. Because I
Right.
think he was being pragmatic about
You
it.
just get ready for that big game on Saturday.
Exactly. So it's interesting because if they had kept it secret and had planned to, we may have never known about this encounter. However, there were a few more witnesses. So later that night, there's a second sighting.
Oh my gosh.
And again, it's a teenager, which I love. I mean, I love this story. Around midnight, teenager John Baxter is walking down Farm Street on his way home from his girlfriend's house. And Farm Street is I think Dover at this time, it's a sort of suburban rural community. There's lots of trees. They're up in the woods. And he's walking down this wooded road, Farm Street, when he looks up and he sees a figure approaching him from the other end of the road. And the night was foggy and overcast, so all he could make out was a silhouette, and it was this 4-foot-tall creature walking on 2 legs, big head, skinny legs, skinny arms, skinny body. And Baxter at first thinks that the creature is this neighbor who lived on the road there named MC Bouchard. And I'm fascinated by whoever the hell this guy was, because he must have been really short and thin and oddly shaped, because he literally was like, oh, that's... And John calls out, he goes, hey, MC, is that you? And the creature doesn't respond. And he stops and he goes, hey, who goes there? Who is that? And the thing takes off into the woods. So John Baxter runs up to where the creature took off, and he looks over the ditch and into the woods, and across a gully, he gets a better look at this creature standing there. And it's standing on two legs with its hand wrapped around a tree, and its feet, he can see, have long appendages, like almost like, he said it actually almost looked like a monkey. I think he probably means chimpanzee, which is an ape, but it's 1977. People are not educated about these things. And he said that the feet were molded around the rock it was standing on, like gripping the rock.
Strange.
And he insisted that the head was almost figure 8 shaped. It was like a peanut that big, and it had giant glowing orange eyes, no nose, no mouth. And both of the witnesses said that the skin color was sort of peachy and had a texture that looked like wet sandpaper. So John's staring at this figure, and he gets that feeling, I think I better get out of here. Because he thought that it was communicating to him, I might come for you.
Right.
So he takes off running, and he runs down the road, and he's picked up by a couple that pick him up and take him home, because, again, it's the 70s. People hitchhike all the time. So he goes home, and he, too, draws what he saw. And unlike Billy, John is like starts telling everybody the next day. So now we're heading into April 22nd, and he's telling all of his buddies what he saw. And all these teenagers, it's a small community, they know each other. And he tells his buddy Mike. Was it Mike? What is it? Oh yeah. He tells his buddy Will Tainter, and shows him the drawing. Now, I'm going to pass around, and we'll put this up on the Instagram, but you'll see the first picture is the one that Billy Bartlett drew that his father hid, and then the next picture is of John Baxter holding up, and I wrote, he's a real pussy magnet here. Look at this guy. He's badass.
Farrah Fawcett.
Yeah.
Farrah Fawcett
This
hair.
is the drawing of the sighting he had, and then the third photo here was by the third witness, which happens at midnight, April 22nd, going into April 23rd.
Oh my gosh.
So Will Tainter hears this story from John Baxter. And that night, he's driving with his, I don't know if it's his girlfriend, but Abby Brigham, who is 15. And they're in the car. And Will has heard this story from John earlier that day. And he saw the drawing. And they're driving along, again, wooded road. It's dark out. The car headlights hit something, and Abby freaks out.
Wow.
And Will, the driver, doesn't get as good of a look at it as she does, but she says she saw a skinny creature, peachy colored, giant head, spindly arms and legs, again on all fours, much like the first sighting the night before that Billy Butler had. Billy Butler? Bartlett. And she saw this creature take off into the woods as the car passed. And she insisted, her description was very consistent with what the other two boys said, except she insisted that its eyes were glowing green instead of orange. Now, I don't think she had heard the story yet, and Will had, and Will saw a glimpse of it. He just didn't get a good of a look, and he said, all I can tell you is it was not a dog, it was not an animal that I was familiar with.
Right.
And he, knowing the story from John from that morning, he starts to ask her what she saw, even he says giving her sort of misleading clues, but she was very consistent with what John had told him he saw. So they go home. She also draws a picture. It's a bit more crude than the other two guys.
I like that one.
But you can see that they're all very similar. So the town starts to talk, and rumors spread that a strange creature is haunting Dover. The local papers prints a story that the teenagers witnessed this creature. I think by this point, Billy Bartlett's come out with his story. Now that there are other witnesses, he shares his drawing. And Lauren Coleman, the cryptozoologist who lived in nearby Needham, Massachusetts, he comes into Dover. He was at the Dover Country Store, and the clerk there starts telling him this story that's going around town. This is April 28th, so this is the following week. And there have been no other sightings since those first few nights. And she goes, oh, yeah, and they drew pictures of him. He's like, can you put me in touch with these kids? She goes, yeah, actually, come back in a couple days. I'll have a copy of the picture for you, and I'll get you in touch. So Lauren Coleman came back the first week of May, and he interviewed all the kids and the families, and he was impressed by by the detail, and he really thought that these kids saw something, and that's when he coined the term the Dover Demon. And skeptics had said, well, it could have been a baby moose, but Lauren Coleman did research. There was it wasn't the time of year for the baby moose, and there were no moose in Massachusetts at that time.
Well, and if you look at these like drawing testimonies, what stands out to me is the feet molds to the rock.
Yeah.
When have you seen a moose knuckle mold to a rock?
That's the other thing is that they saw at least the second witness saw it walking around on 2 feet.
Right.
Coleman actually thought that was very similar to stories of alien grays that were becoming more popular at that time, even though it wasn't the correct color. And some of the definitions weren't super consistent with alien grays. So he contacted the head of MUFON at the time and some of the other like UFO research clubs and put that story out to them. And they had no, they crunched their numbers, and there were no reports of strange lights in the sky.
Right.
There were none of the other phenomena that come with close encounters of a third kind. No UFO sightings, no lights, no orbs, no strange any of that stuff.
Right.
And it got me thinking that this actually sounded a lot like the thing that I saw that we talked about in the Origins episode that was outside my window of my apartment, because it looked very similar to this creature. And my encounter also had no strange lights, none of the UFO phenomenon that came along with it. One of the really cool things is that either it was Lauren Coleman or other people, and this came up in the few articles that I read, is that the Cree tribe of Canada had a name for a trickster creature that fit this description exactly. Big head, skinny arms and legs, no mouth, no nose. And they said it was a trickster creature that they called the Menegishi, and that they were known to be native spirits that toyed with human beings. So it's possible that the Dover Demon was one of these trickster spirits. And that's so funny, because if you go back and listen to Origins, if you haven't listened to it yet, I tell this story. That was the same sense that I had when I saw that entity outside my window. It felt like something that was terrestrial, that I was seeing one of the like the Celts called them the fairy, the little people. It had more of that feeling than a alien from outer space feeling. Right. But it's great. I mean, and since then, they've never seen the creature again, but it's become this local cryptid who's, one of the popular cryptids of America now.
Yeah.
He's kind of this cute little mascot. But
nothing cute about him.
Yeah, nothing cute about him, but that's the story of the Dover Demon. Wow. So when we come back from our break, we're going to ask our guest, Burl, what the hell was that?
His guess will be as good as mine.
Yeah.
And we're back, and it's time to ask our guest,
what the hell was that?
Burl, you just heard about the Dover Demon. What's your best guess?
I liked what you said about it being terrestrial as opposed to extraterrestrial, and I get that feeling, and I like that the Cree tribe had this name for it, and it happens over such a specific period of time, and then not again. You don't hear any sighting, unlike Bigfoot, where you hear these sightings and it just keeps going for decades, right? And so it makes me wonder if the story got around so much in this little town. I mean, actually kind of similar to Stranger Things. Like, if the story got around so much in this little town that somebody, went out and hunted this thing down and took it out.
It's very possible.
Because I feel like that happens to these creatures sometimes. People fear what they don't understand. And instead of trying to understand it, they're like, kill it with fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And that usually doesn't work. I mean, there's so many stories, even the Mothman prophecy. I mean, this is something that pops up in a town and then pops out as quick as it came back in. And what I love about it is you have all these, separate eyewitness testimonials. And that, to me, over any physical evidence is always the best, is when you can triangulate what people saw. And because people are smarter than we take them. We're like,
sure.
If I see something, I'm going to be like, I know what a person is, or I know what a plane is. I think we don't give a lot of these eyewitness testimonies the credit they deserve.
Well, and I think, too, with these kids in particular, some of the local townsfolk thought that they were just playing a prank. But Coleman really felt strongly that they had witnessed something and really believed what they had seen. And also, I always look at how much time passes, and John Baxter, especially, he's kind of the most outspoken witness, the second witness who saw it walking towards him on the road at night. He has, and all three, but he has been very consistent with the story, and he still to this day swears that's exactly what he saw. And the other two witnesses as well, they're like, nope, we know what we saw, we don't know what it was. And there wasn't, if it is a prank, I don't know what the means to the end of that prank is.
It's not a prank. And, because, I mean, I love the detail of and it's in the couple of the drawings, but the feet are molding to the rock. What does it take for somebody to describe something like that? It's as if something was taking place with his foot in the rock.
That's a surprise.
It's
right?
a surprise.
That's something.
Yeah, it's not like just he's standing on the rock and he had a good grip on it. They use the word his feet was molded to the rock. It's strange.
It's so specific.
Very specific.
It's like not to keep. I mean, we're plugging our back catalog here, but it's like the Patterson Gimlin film of the Bigfoot having breasts.
Yeah.
It's a specific detail that if you're hoaxing, it either makes it such a good hoax because you have that attention to detail in your lie, but it's a surprise that I think most people, especially at that time and aren't going to go. Bigfoot seems to be a male creature. The fact that the creature they captured had breasts made it seem very specific.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, we're all actors, and I always find I think the strangest truths are usually the most accurate. You know. And,
well, what they say: the Dover Demon's in the details.
It's in the details.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was pretty bad. But, Burl, I mean, what do you think? So you think it's some kind of... I love the idea of this terrestrial trickster kind of creature that clearly the native people had seen.
Well, this is another part of the story. We have to take their cultural mythology at face value. These Native American stories, they don't add on to their mythology.
Yeah.
They represent it to us as they
said
see
there were
it.
two types of people. There were us, the regular humans, and then the Monogishi.
Yeah.
And then different Native American tribes around North America had similar names for the little people, the trickster folks.
I wonder if the Monogishi have an ability. Now this goes to my belief in extraterrestrials as well. I feel like maybe the Monogishi have the same ability. So I think that extraterrestrials are out there, but just like it took us, a special microscope to see, the atom and everything else like that, I feel like we as human beings can't see them because we just don't have that ability. Just like we can't see infrared light.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
X-rays are there. Wireless radio waves are there. We can't see them with the naked eye, but we know they're there.
Yeah, and I feel like it's the same way with these with the aliens. So maybe the Monogishi?
Yeah, I think that's how to pronounce it.
Maybe the
And,
Monogishi
if I'm butchering that, I apologize.
have an ability, you know what I mean? And this guy for let's say that this creature was a teenager himself, right? And so he went crazy on this weekend.
I want to be where the people
are.
I want to see them driving.
No, but I love this.
And then somebody else was like, "Hey, you got seen multiple times. The stories are around town. You gotta dead that shit." You know what I mean?
Who knows? But I love your theory. I love when we can take apart what we think that was and just and let our gut try and figure it out because it's as good as a guess.
We're
as
never
everybody
gonna
else
know.
is No, we're never gonna know. These things are lost to history.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're gonna come back for our final segment in just a moment. This is Bigfoot Collectors Club.
Be right back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
You
I always
didn't
let
go
you do it
anywhere.
because you do such a great job.
Oh, well, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
It's really sad too because we may not have ads by this point, so we're just cutting away to nothing and coming back.
The music's good.
No, we're building in the infrastructure in case we ever do have a sponsor. That reminds me, if you're a sponsor and you're listening and you want to be a sponsor, get in touch with us, BigfootCollectorsClub@gmail.com. Okay, now it's time for our Collectors Corner. Burl,
Yes.
since it is the Bigfoot Collectors Club,
Yes.
did you ever collect anything?
Yes. I collected several things. I went through phases of collection, and there's one that I still collect to this day. So I'll go through the first phases. The very first thing I collected were Transformers.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember Transformers?
Of course.
Yeah. I collected Transformers because they were amazing. And I
Still
learned
are.
how to transform them in 10 seconds flat. I could
Yep.
transform a car into the robot and everything. And then after that phase,
Who's your favorite Transformer?
Optimus Prime.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Optimus Prime. Yeah.
Autobots,
Yeah.
transform and roll out.
That's pretty
Burl's
close.
kind of a master impersoner.
Impersoner.
He's a master impersonator.
That works for me. Master impersoner.
He's pretty talented. We've discovered this sitting
you're-
around
you're
on
sweet.
set.
And then after the Transformers, I moved on to Ninja Turtles.
Of course.
Collected Turtles for a little
I had
while.
a ton of turtles.
Yeah, Leonardo was my favorite. It's so funny. I have a friend, and one time I was like, "Hey, guess who my favorite Ninja Turtle is?" And she was like, and I was like, "No, don't guess. It's Leonardo."
That's amazing. She's like, I wasn't gonna guess.
You were a good kid. The good kids liked Leonardo.
Yeah, man,
I liked
Leonardo.
Raphael or Michelangelo. I was a spaz, so I liked.
I like those katanas, man. Those katanas. And I like that he was the leader. And I was
Yeah,
like,
you like a person with strong leadership
yeah.
qualities.
This is why I love Goku, from
Yeah.
Dragon Ball.
I don't know Dragon Ball.
It's fantastic. I'll tell
Is
you
that
all
3?
about it.
Is that
Yeah,
collection
matter,
3?
Matter of fact, I'm going to pull out something here. A little
What?
Uh-oh.
Visual aid. This is
Oh,
my wallet.
you have a Dragon Ball Z wallet?
I have a Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, that's
wallet.
pretty
How did you
awesome.
get into Dragon Ball Z? Because I feel like I'm older than you maybe by a year or two.
Yeah.
So maybe it came around
They started throwing it up on Toonami.
Cartoon Network.
Cartoon Network, yeah. Toonami, Adult Swim.
'Cause that feels like it's after my time.
Yeah, but it was fantastic.
Also, I mean, I played with toys way too late. Like, I was in 8th grade, I was still playing with Ninja Turtles. That's
right.
Like, I loved
That's
it. It was
funny.
like acting to me. You know, it's just role play. I loved it.
And then the final thing that I collect, that I still collect to this day, are video games.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have video games across multiple platforms, mostly the ones that I owned growing up. So it's NES, SNES, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What was your favorite game?
Oh gosh, that's so hard. I'd have to name one for each generation. So I think for the Nintendo generation, my favorite game was Super Mario Brothers 3.
Sure.
Game's amazing. Game's amazing. For the SNES generation, my favorite game was Turtles in Time.
That was the best.
Yeah, it's so great. And then first PlayStation was Final Fantasy VII.
Which I hear is like the greatest role play game ever. I never
it's
played.
beautiful.
I didn't have PlayStation until the PS3.
They're supposed to
Right.
be remaking it, so we'll see how that goes. PS2, it was Metal Gear Solid. That game was
Those are
fantastic.
some great games.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I was a Street Fighter 2 Mortal Kombat type
Oh,
of guy.
yeah.
I love.
I like Street
loved
Fighter.
those. Street Fighter was.
I was
class.
a Nintendo kid.
Yeah, right.
If I had to think PS3 is tough because it's
Uncharted.
It's so
The Uncharted games.
Uncharted games are fantastic. They are phenomenal. They are really phenomenal. But I also love that there was so much innovation in the last generation with Heavy Rain and games like that. You know what I mean? That really just knocked my socks off. There's this one moment in Heavy Rain where you're in a car and you get into an accident and your car flips upside down, and all the controls flip upside down as well.
Oh, that's
And
great.
so I literally like rolled over on my bed and like I did the whole thing upside down because it felt like I was the character in this
That's
car. You know,
cool.
and I was like, that was genius.
I never
The stroke
played
of
that
genius.
one. That one looked really cool.
Pretty good. And then for this generation, PS4, my favorite game is Final Fantasy 15.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's
You
amazing.
can cook a lot of food in that one.
Yes,
a lot of
I made
food.
so many meals.
It's like a lot of guys dressed for a night clubbing at the Roxbury in 1999, making food in a tent.
Right.
I love this guy Ignis.
Sounds
He
great.
does all your cooking, and as soon as he'll discover like new recipes like at random around town, depending
And
on like,
everyone
what you
talks
read.
like this.
Yes, it's like I love it when he discovers a new recipe. He goes, "That's it.
I shall make that tonight.
I'll make that tonight."
Oh, Ignis.
That's good. That's good. So yeah, those are my things that I collect, and I guess impressions. I collect impressions.
Yeah,
as
you're pretty
well.
good at 'em.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
We hear them a lot
Yeah, didn't
on
a lot of
set.
downtime.
A lot
Yeah.
of downtime.
Yeah.
Bryce, did you bring anything for us today?
I did. You know, I brought something. And I was saying, Mike, next time we should ask our guests, see if they want to bring anything.
Well, we got a Dragon Ball Z wallet.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah,
yes,
that happened.
So here's a book one of my favorite books, and I've seen you brought one. This is a series done by Time, Mysteries of the Unknown.
Yeah.
It was done in the 50s
I brought one
and
over on our
60s.
very first, when we recorded the
yeah.
Origins episode in your place.
Yeah, but I just love them. There,
Those
you know, they're
books are the best.
yeah, they have like amazing illustrations as you can flip through, and the stories are just great.
And it was also great because these books came out in the 80s, and my school library carried a lot of them, and they would always have creepy commercials on TV
That's
to order
right.
them through Time Life. And so there was this like, that was one of the early things that I remember getting me into the paranormal, were commercials like that, and then shows like Unsolved Mysteries, and then
Yeah.
Sightings.
No, you're absolutely right.
And that
That's right. Those were in the
they
80s,
used
right?
To creep me out. They would scare the crap out of me, but they were
Well,
such cool books.
There was a great bookstore in downtown Los Angeles. I forget the name of it, but they have the most amazing, like, kind of like paranormal section, and that's where you'll always find me.
Is that the
but-
last bookstore?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
At the last
Hey.
bookstore.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
need to go down there. It's a crime I've never been.
It's
but
incredible. It's like in a vault.
Riley's giving it
Yeah.
thumbs up,
Oh,
too.
it's
And it's
really
beautiful.
cool.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And you can find a whole bunch of books like that at a great price.
We got to go down there. We should just go kill an afternoon.
Let's do it.
Burl, you can come with us if you
Okay,
want
cool.
to.
Yeah,
Done.
yeah.
All right, great. Before we go, Burl, obviously, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is back on Friday, January 5th on the CW, 8/7 Central. You and I are both in a bunch of the final five episodes.
Yeah.
There's some really good stuff coming up.
yeah.
So we're in early January. Is there anything else you want to plug? Even if it's just your Instagram or
Yes,
anything?
yes, yes. Follow me on Instagram. It's at Burl Moseley. That's BurlMoseley. I do a lot of great photographs. I'm a bit of a picture-taking connoisseur, so I don't just post pictures of
Anything.
Yeah. but and I also do a bunch of Instagram stories, which is always a lot of fun. So.
You're pretty good at the Instagram stories.
Awesome.
I will
man.
be
Thanks,
following.
man.
Awesome.
Yeah, please do. I'll follow
Yeah,
back. Yeah.
for sure. And Bryce, where can people find you? And anything to plug? Is Bobcat's show out yet?
Yeah, I was just going to say, since we're time forwarded to early January, look forward to True TV's Bobcat Goldthwait's Misfits and Monsters, which should be coming out soon. I'm in the second episode of that. And other than that, you can find me on Instagram at Mr. Bryce Johnson.
And I'm at McMills, MCMILLZZ, on all the grams and stuff. And Burl, thank you so much. Thank you
Yes,
for sharing
thank
that
you, man. That was
scary
awesome.
story. I'm going to think about
you
that
for
shadow
having me,
guy
guys.
for a long time. Before we go, I want to thank Riley Bray, our sound engineer. And I just want to give a big shout out and a huge thanks to Lotus Pool Records and the band Sun Eaters for our music from the song Come Alone. Great. It's been another wonderful time in the clubhouse. We will see you guys next week.
See you next week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.